Hollywood has always been a place of dreams. But behind the red carpets and flashing lights, some of its grandest mansions hide stories no movie studio would ever dare to write. These homes weren't just built for luxury. They became stages for scandal, heartbreak, and sometimes tragedy. The walls that once held wild parties and whispered secrets now sit in silence, their beauty fading under the California sun. Some still stand, locked away behind iron gates. Others were reduced to rubble, leaving nothing but rumors and legends. Yet all of them share one truth. Even the brightest stars can leave behind shadows that never fade. Hidden in the Silver Lake Hills sits one of Los Angeles' most haunting relics, the Paramore Estate. At first glance, it looks like something out of a fairy tale. Sweeping staircases, Mediterranean arches, sprawling gardens with views stretching across the city. But behind the beauty lies a story of wealth, tragedy, and whispers that never went away. The mansion was built in 1923 for Daisy Canfield, daughter of California oil tycoon Charles Canfield. For a time, it was the ultimate symbol of the Roaring Twenties. Lavish parties, endless champagne, and a lifestyle only old Hollywood money could buy. But the good times didn't last. In 1933, Daisy died in a mysterious car accident while returning from a charity event. And just like that, the dream turned into a ghost story. After her death, the Paramore took on a new life, and not always a glamorous one. It became a convent for nuns, then a refuge for troubled girls, and later, a secret backdrop for Hollywood's underground parties. Its walls saw more reinventions than most people see in a lifetime. But the strangest thing? The house never lost its aura of mystery. For decades, people have claimed the estate is haunted, with rumors that Daisy Canfield herself still lingers in the empty halls. Paranormal groups have investigated. Visitors have whispered about cold spots, shadows, and an uneasy feeling that someone is always watching. Even Hollywood couldn't resist its eerie charm. The Paramore became a filming location for movies like Scream 3, True Blood, and music videos for stars like Adele and Marilyn Manson. Yet despite attempts to restore it, the mansion never fully came back to life. Its ballrooms sit quiet, its gardens overgrown, a monument to both beauty and loss. The Paramore Estate isn't just an abandoned mansion. It's a reminder that Hollywood's glittering past was built on fragile dreams. And sometimes those dreams never leave. Tucked away in Laurel Canyon are the ruins of a mansion that many call the Houdini Estate. But here's the twist. Houdini himself never actually owned it. That didn't stop the stories from spreading. In 1919, while filming his rare Hollywood movie The Grim Game, Houdini rented a small guest house on the property. His stay was brief, but his legend was larger than life. Soon, rumors swirled that the estate was filled with hidden tunnels, secret chambers, and maybe even escape tricks that only Houdini himself could master. The mansion started as a grand Mediterranean villa in the early 1900s, with sweeping staircases and sprawling gardens. But like many Hollywood dreams, it didn't last. In 1959, a massive fire ripped through the property, leaving behind little more than stone archways and skeletal walls. What remained looked less like a home and more like a movie set frozen in time. And that's when the myths grew even bigger. People claimed Houdini's ghost still roamed the ruins, even though he died in Detroit decades earlier. Urban explorers, thrill seekers, and hikers wandered the crumbling pathways, swearing they felt a strange presence or heard whispers in the wind. Over time, nature began to reclaim the property. Vines crept over stone walls, staircases led to nowhere, and the air itself seemed heavy with forgotten stories. Eventually, parts of the estate were stabilized, but the ruins never shook their reputation. To this day, people still link it to Houdini, as if the greatest illusionist of all time left one last trick behind. The Houdini house may not have belonged to him, but its legend has outlived the fire, the ruins, and the truth. It stands as proof of how myths can be stronger than history, and how Hollywood loves a good ghost story. In the heart of Beverly Hills stands a mansion that's seen more history, power, and scandal than most movie studios combined. The Beverly House. From the outside, it looks like a palace, Italian Renaissance blended with Spanish Revival, cascading gardens, towering columns, and nearly 50,000 square feet of luxury. But inside, its story is far less glamorous. The Beverly House was built in 1927 by banking tycoon Milton Getz. But its true fame came when media giant William Randolph Hearst moved in with his companion, actress Marion Davies. Hearst was the man who inspired Citizen Kane, a symbol of power, wealth, and control. During his time, the Beverly House became a playground for Hollywood elites and politicians alike. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline even spent part of their honeymoon within its walls. It wasn't just a home, it was a stage for history. The mansion appeared in The Godfather, where Michael Corleone plotted his moves, and later in The Bodyguard, with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. Its grand halls were as famous as the stars who walked through them, but behind the prestige was a problem: size. The sheer scale of the estate made it nearly impossible to maintain. After Hearst's death, the mansion changed hands, but each new owner struggled with the same issue: the costs. The Beverly House was listed for sale multiple times, often with jaw-dropping price tags north of $100 million. And yet, it sat. Empty ballrooms, silent hallways, and endless gardens with no one to tend them. Rumors spread that parts of the mansion had fallen into disrepair, with staff fighting a losing battle against time and neglect. Once a symbol of untouchable wealth, it became a reminder that even the grandest estates can outlive their purpose. The Beverly House is more than just real estate. It's a mirror of Hollywood itself. Dazzling, larger than life, but always at risk of fading when the spotlight moves on. Before Sunset Boulevard was lined with billboards and neon lights, there was one address everyone in Hollywood whispered about: the Garden of Allah. It wasn't just a hotel, it was a legend. The story begins in 1913, when a lavish private estate called Havenhurst was built. In 1919, silent film star Alla Nazimova, known for her magnetic screen presence and scandalous personal life, purchased the property. With a clever twist on her own name, she renamed it the Garden of Allah. Soon after, she transformed it into a luxury residential hotel, complete with 25 Spanish-style villas and lush gardens hidden from prying eyes. And that's when the real story began. The Garden of Allah became Hollywood's most notorious playground. Writers, directors, and stars who wanted to escape the spotlight found refuge there. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote in its bungalows. Dorothy Parker traded razor-sharp jokes at the pool. Humphrey Bogart, Errol Flynn, Marlene Dietrich. The list went on. The parties were legendary, filled with secrets, whispered romances, and indulgences that never made it into the papers. If other hotels catered to respectability, the Garden of Allah thrived on rebellion. It was where stars went to drink too much, hide forbidden relationships, or simply disappear for a while. Behind its ivy-covered walls, Hollywood let its guard down. But like so many dreams in this city, it didn't last. By the 1950s, the once glamorous retreat had fallen into decline. Newer, flashier hotels rose along Sunset Boulevard, and the Garden of Allah couldn't keep up. In 1959, it was demolished, replaced by a bank and later a strip mall. Overnight, one of Hollywood's most infamous addresses was erased from the map. And yet, the legend never died. Today, the Garden of Allah exists only in stories. A ghost of an era when Hollywood's brightest stars lived, loved, and self-destructed in the same hidden paradise. High above Benedict Canyon, hidden by twisting roads and silent trees, there once stood a mansion built for one of Hollywood's first great icons, Rudolph Valentino. To his fans, he wasn't just an actor. He was the Latin lover, a global symbol of mystery, charm, and desire. And Falcon Lair was meant to be his sanctuary. In 1925, at the height of his fame, Valentino bought the sprawling Spanish-style estate. With sweeping views that stretched from the canyon all the way to the Pacific, Falcon Lair was designed to be more than a house. It was his retreat, a place where he could escape the chaos of stardom, entertain friends, ride horses, and write poetry in peace. But the dream ended before it could even begin. Just a year later, Valentino died suddenly at the age of 31, from complications after surgery. The world was shocked. Fans fainted in the streets at his funeral, and Falcon Lair, the home he had just begun to build his future in, was left eerily empty. From that moment on, the mansion was never the same. Owners came and went, socialites, businessmen, even other stars, but the house carried a shadow it could never shake. Stories spread that Valentino's ghost still walked the halls, restless, searching for the life he never got to live. Visitors swore they felt cold drafts, saw flickering lights, or caught glimpses of a figure in the corner of their eye. Over the decades, Falcon Lair fell into decay. Weather battered its walls, neglect ate away at its beauty, and time turned it into a ruin of what might have been. In 2006, much of the original structure was demolished. Today, only fragments remain, but the legend of Falcon Lair is still alive, not because of the bricks or the arches that crumbled away, but because of the man who never got to call it home. It stands as a haunting reminder that even the brightest stars can burn out too soon, leaving behind only shadows and silence. In the glamorous 1930s, Jean Harlow was Hollywood's ultimate blonde bombshell. On screen, she was untouchable. The star every studio wanted, the beauty every fan adored. But behind the gates of her Beverly Hills mansion, the story was far darker than anyone imagined. The house itself was a gift. Harlow's husband, MGM executive Paul Byrne, presented it to her as their love nest, a pristine white mansion complete with lush gardens, a pool, and every luxury a star could dream of. For a moment, it looked like a fairy tale. But within 2 months, that dream shattered. In September 1932, Paul Byrne was found dead inside the mansion from a gunshot wound. The official ruling was suicide. But Hollywood wasn't convinced. Whispers of infidelity, violent arguments, and secret double lives spread through the industry. Some insisted Byrne was murdered. Others claimed it was a cover-up. Either way, the tragedy marked the house forever. Jean Harlow never lived there again. The pain was too much, and just 5 years later, she was gone too, dead at only 26 from kidney failure. With both of its most famous residents lost in tragedy, the mansion gained a reputation as cursed. Over the years, new owners tried to make it their home, but the house refused to let go of its past. Strange noises, flickering lights, sudden cold spots. Stories of ghostly encounters became part of its lore. Some even claimed to see Byrne's figure wandering the halls, doomed to relive that final night. The gardens grew wild, the walls cracked. The once bright estate faded into silence, a monument to a love story that ended in heartbreak and suspicion. Jean Harlow's mansion still stands in Beverly Hills, but it carries more than just Hollywood history. It carries the weight of a darkness that never left. Few names in Hollywood history carry as much intrigue as Howard Hughes. He was a billionaire, a film mogul, an aviation pioneer, and eventually a recluse who all but vanished from the world he once dominated. And his Hancock Park mansion became the perfect symbol of that disappearance. At first, it was everything a man like Hughes could want. A grand estate in one of Los Angeles' most exclusive neighborhoods. Surrounded by tall walls and manicured gardens, the house was designed for luxury and absolute privacy. Inside, it was filled with expansive rooms, timeless architecture, and enough space to host the biggest names in Hollywood. But Hughes wasn't like everyone else. The more powerful he became, the more isolated he grew. Whispers of his paranoia and obsession with germs spread. And while Hollywood partied, Hughes locked himself away. He spent years in darkened hotel rooms instead of his mansion, famously retreating to the Desert Inn in Las Vegas, where he barely left his suite. Meanwhile, his Hancock Park estate sat eerily empty. Windows shuttered, rooms collecting dust, furniture untouched, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for its owner to return. Neighbors said it felt frozen in time, haunted not by ghosts but by silence. After Hughes's death in 1976, battles over his billion-dollar fortune dragged on, leaving many of his properties in limbo. The mansion stayed sealed, fueling rumors of hidden treasures locked inside. Private documents, forgotten inventions, maybe even secrets about Hughes's final years. Eventually, the house changed hands. Some parts were restored, others demolished. But the shadow of Hughes never left. The estate became more than a piece of property. It became a reminder of what happens when isolation swallows power, and when the man who once had everything chooses to disappear from it all. Howard Hughes's mansion may no longer stand as it once did, but its story lingers. A home that reflected not just wealth, but the cost of living too long in your own shadows. From the glittering parties of the 1920s to the crumbling ruins hidden in today's hills, these mansions tell the untold story of Hollywood, a place where dreams were built on marble floors but often collapsed behind locked gates. Some homes vanished completely, erased by bulldozers and replaced by strip malls. Others still stand, silent and empty, holding onto their secrets like shadows that refuse to fade. Each mansion carried more than luxury. They carried tragedy, scandal, and whispers that outlived the stars themselves. Daisy Canfield, Rudolph Valentino, Jean Harlow, Howard Hughes. Their lives ended, but their homes became legends. And maybe that's the strange truth about Hollywood. The spotlight moves on, but the ghosts never really leave. So the question is, which of these forgotten estates do you think hides the darkest story? Let us know in the comments. And if you love uncovering the hidden, haunted side of Hollywood, don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next story might be even stranger than this one.